crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I'm here with a video featuring cat scrappiness, specifically the Crafter's Essentials Fall Die Cut set. I featured this in a recent haul, and I encourage you to go check out that video because there's also a giveaway with that haul video. I'll be making two cards today. The first is a rather simple shaker card. I took the Distressed Edge rectangle from Cat Scrappiness and I die cut out a piece of black glitter paper. Then I cut the tree out of the center, the tree from the Crafter's Essential die set, and that basically creates the window for my shaker. So I'll add some adhesive to the back and put a piece of plastic transparency there. Then I did want to add a sentiment, and that also, the sentiment strip comes from the Crafter's Essential Fall die set as well. It creates a full-length banner, but in this case, I actually just needed a shorter banner, so I'm going to stamp my sentiment down, and that's from the Toil and Trouble stamp set, which is, hint, hint, what you can win, so be sure to check that out. And I'll leave a link in the video description, just like there'll be a link to, the products and a discount code, because there's always a discount code down there. Anyway, I just stamped my sentiment down, and I went with the simple Happy Halloween sentiment. Then I trimmed it up, but it's not die cut with the Distressed Edge. If I had thought about it ahead of time, maybe that would have been a way to sort of finish it off a little bit better. But as you'll see, there's kind of things where like the idea comes to me a little bit in the, later in the card making process. And so I kind of have to fix my mistakes, but I'm not really fixing. It's just kind of, or not really mistakes. It's just kind of going with the flow and adapting to ideas. To make the shaker card a bit more simple, I doubled up my foam tape and I used a relatively thin foam tape, not, thin in its width. I don't know how to describe, how to describe the thickness versus the width. I would say that's thin in its width, but it's a little bit thicker. And I want it to basically have a lot of room to shake around is my goal here. And I also wanted to just create a simple rectangle on the back rather than maybe die cutting everything with foam, because what I found when I do the foam, especially in a detail like this, it's not going to shake around as much. And so I really love my shaker cards to be full and to be really fun. And to me, that means having a lot of room to shake and a lot of shaker material. So I used the Hocus Pocus, and I kind of warned you guys when in the haul video that I would be tempted to use the whole bag in one go, just because, like I said, I like a full shaker card. But after thinking about it, I decided to put some of the Hocus Pocus back and add a bit of the ghostly greetings. And that's because I wanted those little ghosts to shake around. I thought the ghost with the spooky tree was a fun combo there. So I kind of mixed in the two of them, and I placed that down on my card base, and I'm going to place my shaker window on top. I am using an embossing powder bag to make my transparency a little bit less static, because sometimes then all of the sequins will stick to that. And so that's basically done for my very first card. My next one will be a little bit more involved, but here I forgot to peel off all those shaker bits. Luckily, not too much of a problem. And I will also adhere my little sentiment onto there, make sure that it shakes well and it's full. If you want it to be a bit more full, if you check that before your adhesive has sat there for too long, sometimes you can peel it up kind of gently. But always be careful when you're making those choices, because it's such a bummer when you get a card almost done and then you rip something. But I love that little tiny stitch detail that is included on the sentiment strip, and I did stamp that with VersaFine ink, so it gives a great crisp sentiment ink, or it is a great crisp sentiment ink. Anyway, I had this tree that from the first card, and there were other members, I think at least one member of the Cat Scrappiness design team, who made a Halloween scene distressing card. And so part of me was like, yeah, I shouldn't do that. Someone else already had that idea. But I was so enamored with the idea, and I wanted to put a little spin on it. And hoping I'm remembering correctly. So I wanted to add the moon essentially, and that as the silhouette against it. So that's what I tried to do to mix it up a bit here. And I used the Cat Scrappiness never-ending circles, you could just trace any circle, but it's easy when you have that die cut. And that's literally like a scrap out of my recycling bin. It's not fancy masking paper. And I taped it down with some Frog Delicate tape so that it won't rip my cardstock. I am using Bristol Smooth cardstock. I believe it's from Strathmore. And I just find that this paper blends Distress ink a little more nicely. I am using Distress Oxide ink, which also blends a bit nicer than traditional Distress ink, although I find on Bristol Smooth, the traditional Distress ink works out great. I have Dusty Concord, Wilted Violet, and I believe that lightest color is called Shaded Lilac. And I'm going to use those 3 purple colors. But then I found that it wasn't quite as dark as I was hoping for at the edges, so I'm going to wind up pulling in a little bit of black soot. I will try a gray first and realize it's not exactly working, although I did kind of like putting the gray around the moon. And at first I thought, oh, the moon is not going to look right because it's going to be so bright white against it. But in this instance, the fact that Bristol Smooth paper isn't bright white, I think actually worked for me. One of the keys to getting a nice blend is not being afraid to go over it a few times and really take your time with it. And as you can see, I've taped my card or my piece of cardstock down to a scrap piece of paper here. So I've already used that background in the past. And I would generally recommend just using a craft mat because it's obviously reusable and you wouldn't spend money on these papers. I just find that for a video, that bright white background makes things just a little bit easier to see. So here I'm going to go in with the gray ink thinking, oh, that'll take away some of the brightness and make it look a little bit more like a night sky. And as I mentioned before, I do like how it looks around the moon. It gives it that little bit of a glow effect. But for the very edges of the card, I did want to come in with the black soot. And I'm going to try to be a little bit light with it at first. The thing about Distress Oxide inks is they have a pigment quality. So they kind of sit on top of each other a little bit more at first, and you're able to get some nice coverage without adding as much, whereas that can be a bit harder to do with traditional Distress inks. And so I add a touch of black, and then I'm going to come in with some of the purples, blend it back out. And here I'm checking to make sure everything is looking good with the moon before I pull it off. Couple of things. There's a teeny tiny bit of something there in that like top left corner, and I'm not quite sure what happened, but I'm, deciding not to get too upset about it, and I'm going to cover that up later. Then I wanted to put some spray, some like shimmer spray down on this, but when I shook the bottle, it was clogged. So again, I'm just going to roll with it, and I opened up the bottle and I decided to just do this tapping instead. And in fact, it probably created a nicer effect in some ways. When you do spray it, it really covers the whole surface, which in the end, I'm not sure that's what I would have wanted. But the other thing I wanted to say about blending is sometimes it doesn't look great until it dries or until it all comes together. So try not to stress too much at the early stages and let it dry and do its thing and mix up on paper. After I added the sparkly flicks from the glitter spray, I also decided to just add some plain water sprays. And so I used my Distress sprayer and just got these bigger droplets. It kind of has the effect of stars, but I'm not entirely going specifically for stars. Just I think it adds to the effect of a night background. So then I remove my mask again, and I'm ready to add my pieces from the Crafter's Essentials die set. I had the tree already, but then I took the scraps that were left from die cutting out the distressed edge and the tree. So basically the scraps from the first card, and I'm going to use that to finish off my second card. When it was just a tiny 6x6 piece of glitter paper, but I always figure, once you made that scrap, it becomes a little bit harder to use once you've put it away. So sometimes using up my scrap right away is the best idea for me and to get the most sort of bang for my buck. I'm laying down the tree so that it overlaps with the moon, because that was my kind of focus, is that moon in the background. And then I'm going to cover up that little boo-boo on the moon with a bat, which is a really simple thing to do. You ever heard that expression that kind of comes on like crafty Facebook groups? Mistakes are just opportunities for embellishment. And so I took that pretty literally here and added one of my embellishments right over it. And then I'm going to add 2 more bats flying around the tree. Things tend to look better in odd groupings. So if I put 2 bats, maybe it look okay, kind of paired with the tree and be 3 in all. But 3 bats I find is going to look a little bit better. And then I was looking at it and it didn't feel quite complete. I didn't like that blank corner there, but I'd already cut it out of the distressed edge die because I really liked the way that looked. I think that this distressed edge rectangle is perfect for Halloween. So if you hadn't picked it up in the past, I could see using it for Halloween and then for like some fun vintage Christmas cards. It's great for that because of that distressed edge look. And I had to be a bit fussy and cut out the overlapping parts of the fence because I laid it on after the distressed edge die. Then I went to the Cat Scrappiness Purple Jewels. It's hard to find purple embellishments sometimes, but not at Cat's store. She has jewels, she has sequins. It worked out great. I love the look of these jewels. They added like just the perfect Halloween sparkle. Again, sparkles, great for Halloween, great for Christmas. May as well just order both sets of colors and stock up now so you're ready to go for your holiday crafting. Again, also Thanksgiving, I'm thinking like the browns and reds, and anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I stamped the boo from the Cat Scrappiness Toil and Trouble stamp set, and that is it for my second card. Notice the stitching detail that is on those glitter trees and the bats and all of that, and the fence. It's just great, all those little thoughtfulness that goes into Cat's dies. And it's a set that I could see myself using many, many times. Those little ghosties are so fun in the shaker card. So that's it for me today. There'll be a coupon code and links in the video description and that giveaway video for you as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Have an awesome day. Bye.